Hello, Anointed Ones, and welcome back to the Anointed TV channel, where we explore stories of faith, resilience, and God's amazing grace. In today's video, we will learn the Daystar side of the story, as explained in the responses they gave to Julie Roys. The views expressed in this video are those of the Roys Report and Daystar TV lawyers, and we at Anointed TV are just providing commentary and analysis. Daystar, through their lawyers, sent a 10-page letter claiming that Julie Royce's first article, published November 2024, contained false allegations of sensual assault concerning Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter. This was just one of the many bloggers and YouTubers that the law firm Kelly Hart and Hallman LLP, hired by Daystar TV, sent requests for retractions via cease and desist letters for being critical of the Daystar television network and the actions of their president, Joni Lamb. Joni and her late husband Marcus are being accused by their son and daughter-in-law, Jonathan and Susie Lamb, of allegedly covering up and downplaying sensual abuse on their 5-year-old daughter. They said Julie repeated several false accusations regarding allegations of sexual assault concerning Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter. The entire premise of the article is a total fabrication built on baseless allegations of sexual abuse and a supposed cover-up. In the letter sent to Julie of the Roys Report, Daystar TV responded to the many accusations made by Jonathan and Susie Lamb, which gives a glimpse of their position in this whole matter. Let's dive in. First up, the letter addresses the article's headline. Former Daystar executive and wife accused Joni Lamb of covering up daughter's sexual abuse. Daystar's lawyers state, and I quote, "Nothing could be further from the truth. Marcus and Joni Lamb have never covered up any allegation of sexual abuse. They assert that this headline is a complete fabrication designed to mislead readers and harm Daystar's reputation." The letter then outlines several statements from the November 20th article that Daystar claims are completely false, and gives a point-by-point response to all the accusations. Here's a summary of the key accusations and Daystar's responses as outlined in the 10-page cease and desist letter demanding a retraction of the article. In their first and second responses, they said there were no findings of child sensual abuse, and this was just a false narrative being used to falsely accuse Pete of sensual abuse and Joni Lamb of covering it up. They then refute the claim that Pete followed the daughter upstairs as she was going to change to go swimming, and that Jonathan rushed into his daughter's upstairs room. In reality, the daughter went upstairs with Pete and Jonathan's son to see the city view from a large room that the son and daughter were sharing. Pete was also carrying and accompanied by his approximately 1-year-old son. They then claimed that Susie was not even in the room or present at the time of the falsely alleged sexual misconduct. In the issue of the daughter being found naked, they stated that the daughter, without notice, began changing into a swimsuit in a different part of a room, while Pete, his son, and Jonathan and Susie's son were looking out the window at a city view that Jonathan and Susie's son had repeatedly brought up. The daughter did this without Pete's knowledge. They say this is a false narrative being used to label Pete a pedophile. On the claim that Jonathan had been demoted from vice president to a manager position last April for refusing to sign a non-disclosure agreement, they said it was a lie and provided several reasons why he was demoted, which included blackmail threats and breach of fiduciary duty, failure to provide adequate executive oversight, poor teamwork or collaboration, violation of company policies or procedures, insubordination, failure to demonstrate adequate leadership skills, lack of adaptability, and inadequate job knowledge or skills. The letter said Jonathan was not demoted until April 4, 2024, over 4 months after Jonathan refused to sign a non-disclosure agreement intended to safeguard Daystar's commercially sensitive and proprietary information. He and Susie also used to co-host a show on Daystar called The Green Room, but they also said that Susie was not fired abruptly in July 2023 from co-hosting her show on Daystar, called The Green Room. But Daystar stopped paying Susie in May 2024 because she had stopped providing services. They stated that Susie's daughter told her that a boy at her preschool had touched her and her friend in the cafeteria and that no man had touched her, or finger-raped her vaginally and anally. Therefore, Susie's claim that she didn't identify her molester was false, and it is part of the overall false narrative being used to falsely accuse Pete of sexual abuse and Joni Lamb of covering it up. They also clarified that Jonathan and Susie's daughter walked into a bathroom that Pete was showering in and then quickly left, which was something completely out of Pete's control. Pete had mentioned this incident to her in 2020. In the Roy's article, they shared that their daughter was terrified to come to Daystar, where Pete worked. They explained that she was only afraid to go to the green room because of Joni's former executive assistant, Maddie, not Pete, which they say can be confirmed by Susie's real-time text messages. In defense of Pete that he was often with their children in Daystar's green room while they were filming their show, they said there was almost always someone present in the green room whenever Pete and the children happened to be in the green room at the same time. They also claimed the couple who told Susie they saw Pete putting his hands all over the child and kissing her were lying. The letter said that Pete went over to play with the girl at Jonathan and Susie's house when only her brother and a nanny were home, but he would occasionally stop by Jonathan and Susie's house while on a walk in the neighborhood, much like Susie would do when she was walking her children in the neighborhood. On the accusation that Marcus and Joni covered the abuse, they said Marcus and Joni did not and would not protect Pete and Daystar's image at the expense of their own granddaughter. They said that Joni never urged Susie to not go to the police as she claimed, but Joni went to the preschool with Susie to address the issue with the preschool, and in fact, the police were notified. Marcus and Joni also never justified Pete's presence in the girls' room by saying Pete loved her and simply wanted to hang out with her, saying they did not say anything of the sort. In reality, Pete went upstairs with Jonathan and Susie's son and daughter and his approximately one-year-old son to see the city view from the room. In the Roy's article, Susie added that when she strongly objected, saying that didn't explain why Pete was in the room with her naked daughter, Joni blamed the couple's daughter, saying she was the one who took her clothes off. At this, Susie said she began screaming at her mother-in-law, but Joni was adamant and reiterated her claim several times over the next 24 hours. They termed this claim as false. Joni also claimed there were some statements taken out of context to paint her and Marcus in a bad light shared in the article. On matters of succession, they said that Marcus and Joni never said that Jonathan would succeed Marcus as president of Daystar if Joni were still alive. She said when Marcus sent an email stating that Joni would be president of Daystar in the event of his death, Jonathan replied, "Yes, sir, agreed. And I pray you have many more fruitful years on this earth." And there was nothing changed to punish Jonathan for accusing Pete. On the claim that Leonhardt wasn't able to interview Pete and that Pete's wife insisted on being present for the interview and answered all the questions intended for her husband. The letter clarified that Debbie Leonhardt specifically said that it was acceptable for Pete's wife to be present. Pete's wife did not answer all of the questions intended for Pete. Rather, Pete answered the questions. Pete's wife answered questions directed to her. They added that Marcus and Joni never made statements to stop Boggs from proceeding with the investigations. Joni Lamb also defended her new husband, sex therapist, and Daystar host Doug Weiss, on the claim that he owns a polygraph company. She stated that Doug Weiss is not a sex therapist, but a licensed psychologist. Doug Weiss does not own a polygraph company, did not select the polygrapher, did not administer the polygraph, did not know about the polygraph examination until it was completed, does not know who performed the polygraph, and has never seen the polygraph results. On the family vacation in June 2022, Jonathan said Joni was adamant they must go as a family, and Susie claimed she only went because she felt sorry for Joni, with clear stipulations that the children would sleep in the basement near her and Jonathan. This is how Joni responded. Susie very much wanted to go on the beach vacation, as evidenced by her real-time text messages. Joni, however, did not want to attend at first due to ongoing family bickering. When they went on the family vacation, Jonathan and Susie wanted their children to sleep in the bunk room directly across the hall from Pete and his wife, on a separate floor from everyone else. Pete and his wife objected and said that Jonathan and Susie's children should sleep on the same floor as Jonathan and Susie and away from them. Finally, they claimed it was false that Susie and Jonathan had a strict boundary to keep Pete and his wife from ever being alone with our daughter, nor has he stepped foot into our home since the executive retreat on August 3, 2021. She said that Jonathan and Susie continued to be friends with Pete and his wife after August 2021. And there are real-time text messages between everyone that prove this. This statement is being used to further the false narrative that Pete engaged in sexual misconduct. The letter stated in their responses that the claims in Julie Roy's article were false narratives being used to falsely accuse Pete of sensual abuse and Joni Lamb of covering it up. The law firm claims that Roy's knowingly published inaccurate information without verifying the facts. Finally, the cease and desist letter outlined Daystar's demands, which included 1. Retract the November 20th article in its entirety. 2. Issue a public apology to Daystar, Joni Lamb, Jonathan Lamb, and Susie Lamb. 3. Immediately cease publishing or disseminating any further false or defamatory statements regarding Daystar or the Lamb family. Failure to comply, the letter warned, would result in legal action against the Roy's report for defamation. Daystar's legal team is clear. They believe this article is part of a false narrative intended to defame Pete, Joni Lamb, and Daystar Television. The Roy's report through their lawyer has said they won't retract the article and proceeded to issue a response to each of the 28 responses from Daystar. It's clear no one is backing down in this. This case highlights the delicate balance between investigative journalism and potential defamation claims. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it unfolds. At the end of this saga, involving the Lamb's family and Daystar, all we want is the truth. Joni Lamb should allow an independent investigator to look into the alleged accusations. This would give closure to the accused and the aggrieved members of her family, and ultimately restore peace, unity, and love in her family. What do you think? Should the Roy's report stand by their story, or do you think they've crossed a line? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on this and other news stories. Thanks for watching.